Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Artists of Color. I am Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host. And I'm going to say today we have an amazing show. I always say all my shows are amazing, but we really have an amazing show. Anyone that's, I'm going to say, 50 and over might remember this gentleman. And we are here to, I'm here today to talk a little bit about him and about all three of my guests. I'm going to begin with Judge Milton Wright, who I've known for a very long time. He is here visiting and honoring me with his presence today. Judge Wright, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
And the famous Skippy White. We've got him on my show today, which is actually what the show is about. Mr. Skippy White. I've known him since I was a little girl. I remember him being on WILD.
Yeah.
I remember going into 2 of his record stores that he had in the community.
Only 2?
Only 2.
Okay.
I got to the 3rd one later. Yeah. So I remember that.
Yeah.
And also a jazz artist, Miss Toni Lynn Washington, who I am very honored to have met for a minute, but I've got her on my show today. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate that. And thank all of you. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what each of you have done artistically, how the connection to Mr. Skippy White, because for those of you that may not know, Skippy White closed his last store, and retired a few months ago. So actually that's what this show is about. Him, what he's done around getting black music out there into the community and being a staple within the black community. And we are very happy for that and very proud of that. So we're here for having all of you talk about that and how your connections were to him and with him. Mm-hmm. So I guess what I should start with is Mr. Judge Milton Wright. I like that. I'd like to know, first of all, I'd like to know a little bit about you. I know you, but your vocal and artistic career has spanned very long, more than I ever knew.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
Okay.
Yep. I came to Boston actually in 1968. I was born and reared in Miami, Florida.
oh, really?
Yes. Graduated from high school and went to Morehouse College in Atlanta. And
He's a Morehouse man.
yeah, from there I went to Michigan and then law school in Boston. In 1968 I came here. And in coming to Boston, one of the first things that I did was make it to Skippy White's record store.
See?
Because I knew of Skippy from my sister, Betty Wright, the legend. He played her records, and he really, he pushed her records. He loved my sister.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
she loved him.
Oh, see, there
So
you go.
when I came to Boston, I had to meet this Skippy White. And I
Find out
came
who
to his
he
record
was.
store and I said, I'm Milton Wright, I'm Betty's brother.
Oh, wow. See, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
See, there's
And,
there's that connection.
Yeah, but I also had a music career. Actually, when I was in Michigan, I used to go to the Brown Jug, which is famous because the Brown Jug is the name of one of the football games that between Michigan and Minnesota. I think they give the Brown Jug to the winner.
Uh-oh.
And the Brown Jug restaurant was this restaurant and pizza shop I went to, and I met the owner who had heard me sing, and he said he wanted to produce a record on me.
Oh, wow.
And he had a friend from Detroit, Ollie McLaughlin, who was a famous producer.
Producer.
And Ollie heard me and decided to produce me. and I produced. I did 2 records there at Motown Studios with the orchestra,
wow.
which was called the Terra Sherma Strings, and I'll never forget it because I went in with my guitar, and they had written out the scores because what I submitted to them was me playing the guitar and singing the songs that I had written. One was called "I Belong to You." So we were recording the orchestration first, and the orchestra was there playing, and they had the strings and everything, and they were saying, "What is this? What is this? I never heard anything like this." It was really unique kind of music to them. So, and I was overwhelmed with how enthusiastic they were about the piece. And I put the vocals on. Ollie didn't really like the vocals, and he released the instrumental first, and they called it the gallop.
The gallop?
Yeah, because the movement was like a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Okay, that would be.
So anyway, it was one of the first big disco hits in England. It was huge.
Oh,
it was
my goodness.
huge. And then they didn't release the vocal till 1980s, and then that was a hit.
Oh,
Yeah.
you've been a hit.
So when I came to Boston, I came to go to law school, though.
Mm-hmm.
I had left Michigan and sort of left that career behind me. I've actually divorced myself from the recording career twice. The next time, so the next time was 1975. I recorded again, 1975 and 1977, 2 albums, Friends and Buddies, and
I saw that.
and Space. Friends and Buddies is considered a classic in Europe. It was, it has given me such good fortune over the years. It was why I was able to practice law as I wanted to, work for the people. I would get my royalties from my records, and I was able to live comfortably and not make a lot of money being a lawyer. But my music and my singing helped me get through it, all of that.
Wonderful.
And but getting back to Skippy here, I was just amazed at his love for soul music.
Yes.
And how much he had invested in just helping the whole industry to really get people to listen to this music, which is great music, rhythm and blues and soul and gospel. And all of that. This is true Americana.
Yes, it is.
You know, this is what distinguishes us from everywhere else in the world. Our music.
You're right. You are absolutely right.
So thank you, Skippy.
Sir.
Thank you for all that you do.
Appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you, Skippy. Absolutely. I'm going to go, because we're always going to come back to Skippy. I'm going to go from past Skippy for a minute, and we're going to talk to Miss Toni Lynn Washington, because I want her to tell me how her career got started.
Oh, that's a long story.
That's okay. We've got a few minutes, let me tell you.
Well, I was born in Southern Pines, North Carolina, in a little village called Southern Pines, not too far from Fort Bragg. And my parents relocated to Boston when I was about 13. And I went to school here, and then I got married to a sailor, serviceman. And then I began to travel, around with him. And the first place we moved to was, first place I went to was New Orleans.
Oh.
That's where he was from.
And
I raised my age up a little bit and went into the nightclubs and set in, with the bands. That was fascinating, to me. There's a club called the Dewdrop Inn in New Orleans.
Okay.
You remember that club?
See?
Yeah. Big Joe Turner was there.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Ray Charles played there.
Ray
Yeah,
Charles,
Little Richard.
you name it.
Oh, so
that's
this is
right.
a,
And I
this
would
place
get
up-
is very well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would get up and sing with these guys, you know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I met a gentleman. His name was Lionel Worthy, and he owned a record company called the Conti label, and he liked the way I sound, so he took me into his studio. I was quite young, and we recorded a couple of, the old 45.
45, yes.
Yeah. And believe it or not, one of them made Billboard.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go. She became
It's
famous.
called Dear Diary. Yeah.
Okay.
And well, I spent some time in New Orleans because my husband was out to sea. And when he came back, he moved us to LA. And that's when my career really got started, because I went to audition at the Frankie Lane.
I remember that name.
You remember that lane? Mule Train?
Yes.
Well, there's a group there that was looking for a lead singer, and so I went and auditioned, and there were 3 guys, and myself, and we signed up with the Bob Hope's USO shows.
Really?
Yeah, and we did a
Oh,
lot
wow.
of touring, entertaining our troops,
Troops,
during the war in
yes.
Vietnam, in Southeast Asia, and we did that for quite a few years. And it was a fun time for me, but sometimes there was some close calls.
I was going to say, yes.
There was some very close calls in Vietnam, but however, we made it back safe.
Thank goodness.
And then we toured stateside, and we toured the world, and then we kind of drifted apart, and I came back to Boston because we had separated.
Oh, okay.
We had separated, and I came back to Boston, and I got into the business again. I didn't waste any time.
I can
love
see.
show business.
She went right there.
That's my passion.
Wonderful.
And however, I met a gentleman called Hopeton Johnson. You remember Hopeton Johnson? He had a
He does. I
yeah.
don't.
He was playing at this club called Louis Lounge.
Oh, yes. Now, I do know Louis Lounge.
I did the matinee on Saturdays with the Hopeton Johnson Trio because they knew how old I was and they wouldn't let me in there.
Uh-huh.
But during the matinee, they would let me in there. So from there, I think we did quite a few gigs for the Over the Hill Gang clubs for people, a mature population.
Senior, yes.
And that went very well. And then I met a gentleman. Sometime my memory shuts down on me.
That's all right.
I worked at the Bay Tower Room with the group there, and then I met Bruce Beers, and he formed the Toni Lynn Washington Band,
Oh,
and we took off again. We
there
toured.
you go. She was off and running.
Yes, we took off. We took off from there,
Beautiful.
and the rest is history.
Yes, it is. Since you're talking about the rest being history, now I know that you sing both gospel,
Yes,
R&B,
yes,
and jazz.
absolutely. I sing all of it.
I know you do. I'm trying to find out during your changes in, moving around, when you were producing records, okay, when you were producing your albums, were they mostly R&B or jazz?
Well, I would say it was a mixture.
It was a mixture, all right.
We put some funk in there,
Okay.
and
a little funk in there.
we put some swings, stuff because we did a lot of weddings, and we just covered, everything.
The other, you're
everything.
right.
So I am in I'm not in a box.
Right.
I sing all different types of music. I like to please the crowd, whatever
There
pleases
you
them.
go.
You know.
I hear you.
Yeah.
How did you connect to Skippy White? When did you all meet and connect?
When did I what? I'm sorry.
How was your connection made with you and Skippy White?
Oh, my parents were. They had one of these, record players.
No, I remember
And
those.
and we would have company over. Those were the good old days.
Weren't they the good old days?
We would have
yes.
company over, fish fries and stuff like that.
Really?
And all of the music came from Skippy White's record shop.
There you go.
We had the big, what do you call those big albums? They're the albums, and the Clovers and.
Clovers. Now you're back
just-
to the
Now you're back.
45.
There
Yes.
you go. I remember the Clovers.
Yes, and my mom and dad and the company, they would dance and we would have a ball. And all of the music came from Skippy White. And that's how I don't think I met you in person,
Maybe not.
but my
that
dad,
early.
my dad met you because he was always in your shop looking around.
Yeah.
And then when I met, when the Toni Lynn Washington band was formed, the leader of the group went to Skippy White's record shops to gather material for us. Yeah.
Okay.
So you played a big part,
Well,
in
thank
my
you for
life.
that.
Yes.
Now, the man of the hour, as I'm going to call him.
Yep.
Skippy White. Skippy, I know from doing a little bit of research on you that you opened up your first store in 1961.
You're actually
Well, that's what I
subtract
found.
1 year,
Oh,
1960.
60.
Yes.
Okay. Not 160.
Yeah.
All right. Where was that shop? Where was that store first opened? Where?
1820 Washington Street.
Got it. All right. I was going to say that, but I wanted
Halfway
to make
between
sure.
Louis Lounge
Yes.
and Basin Street South.
Yes.
Whoa.
And across the street from Big Jim Mellon's Shanty Lounge.
Sure was.
Let's not forget that one.
Yes.
No,
That
let's
was
not.
all in
'Cause
that one
that
little
whole-
area. Yes.
Yep.
Whole area, yeah.
The Northampton
And the
area.
Puritan
Northampton.
Theater.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yes, the Puritan Theater.
That was
Yeah.
a busy
Puritan
area.
Theater, yep.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
I was born. I always tell people I was born on Tremont Street, 944 Tremont Street, which was attached to Slade's. The building
Oh,
was
yes.
attached.
Okay.
That's where I was born, and that's where I grew up in until I was like 10 years old, and then my mom moved us up Roxbury. But I was born in Lower Roxbury, and I remember all those places.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I was
Those
a
were
little
the
girl,
fun
but
places.
my mom went out, so I remember I'm going here and I'm going there, and I remember all of that. But how you had a passion. You had a
Absolutely.
passion for soul music.
Right. Rhythm and blues was my love in music.
Okay. What made that was your passion and your love? What made you decide to open up a record store?
Well, I'll tell you, I was actually working for another record store at the time, Smilin' Jack's College Music, 338 Mass Avenue, Circle 79026 was the number. Anyways, I worked there, and one of the problems that we had was the customers coming into the store didn't know the new music because it wasn't being played on the radio. There was no black music being played on the radio at the time.
Oh.
So I said to Jack, I said, we really need to get a radio station interested in playing rhythm and blues.
Okay.
So I went around to a couple of them. In fact, I almost got involved with a station. There was a top 40 station at the time called WCOP. And it was a
remember that.
pretty big station. It was owned by a company in Washington, D.C. So the thing was, they had a 24-hour license, but they went off the air at 12 midnight. So my idea was, well, why don't we put rhythm and blues on from midnight to maybe 2 or 3 or 4, whatever.
Yes.
So the program director, I think his name was Paul Koss, he liked the idea, but he had to run it by the people that ran the show in Washington, D.C.
Oh, dear.
They shut it down. So then somebody told me that there was a radio station that wasn't doing too well financially. And somebody not doing too well financially will always listen to a new idea.
Right.
And the name of that station was WYLD.
I knew you were going to say
1090 on your
Your
dial,
dial,
smack dab
yes.
in the middle of the pile.
There you go.
And I went to have an interview with the owner. His name was Nelson Noble.
Yeah.
And we sat and talked, and I proposed that I would program. Actually, at the time, I wasn't looking to go on the air myself, because first of all, I had never been on the air.
Oh.
I had never been a disc jockey.
Okay.
I didn't know the first thing about it. I mean, you'd have to point out the microphone to me.
Oh, my goodness.
So I said to Nelson Noble, I said, I'll play rhythm and blues. He said, now you're not going to play rock and roll, are you? I said, no, it's not rock and roll. It's rhythm and blues, black music. So he said, oh, okay. All right, and we'll put you on Saturdays from, I think it was 1 to 3 or 12 to 2, somewhere around the early afternoon on Saturday.
Yes.
And the next
was
question he asked me, I had to fib a little. He said, well, you've been on the air before. You have experience, right?
Of course.
Well, I mean, if I said no, there goes the whole thing.
That's right.
So I had to say yes. So I did, and he gave me the 2-hour show. And that was in 1960. So he said to me, I need you to go out and help me get some sponsors because, like I said before, he wasn't doing well financially. So I went to a local record distributor who knew a lot of people in the area, and he got me, what was the name of that jazz club on Tremont Street? Not Slade's.
No.
Begin with a C.
Connolly's.
Connolly Stardust Group.
Okay.
You got it. Connolly Stardust. So I got that. I had a laundromat, and I had a variety store. And the fourth sponsor was going to be a record store.
Oh, my goodness.
So I went to Smiling Jack, and I told him, Jack, I got a chance to go on the air. I'm going to be able to play all the new R&B records. Everybody will know what's going on, and they'll come in and spend a lot of money with you. He said, I don't need it.
What?
That's what he said. I don't need it.
I don't
need to spend any money.
What?
So I said, all right, that's your decision. So I went back to Nelson Noble, and I said, I got 3 sponsors. I said, just one more is going to be the record store. And he said, when are you going to have that? And I said, soon. So I went on the air, and I did maybe, I'd say, 3 or 4 weeks. And in those 3 or 4 weeks, I started looking around for a location.
Oh, okay.
And at first, I found one downstairs from the NAACP headquarters, which was on the corner of Columbus Ave and Mass Ave.
Mass Ave, yep.
The problem was they had some problems with plumbing and some other problems that needed to be fixed before I could go in and open up the store. So they were taking their time.
I know they were.
So in the meantime, I kept looking.
Okay.
And that's when I went around the corner on Washington Street, and I found this little 2x4 store at 1820 Washington Street.
Yes.
And that was available right away.
And you took it right away.
I took it. And I'll never forget, I had records at the house because I had this little route of about 12 stores that I was selling wholesale to. I used to go around to the warehouses and get records. And then I would go to the stores, the various stores from Providence. I had a couple of stores in Providence. I had one in Watertown Square, one in Waltham, one in Somerville, and of course Smiling Jack was one of my customers, which is maybe why he hired me.
Ah.
He thought, you know, if I hire this guy, not only would he help me in the store, but he won't go to all my competition and sell
That's
records.
right.
So at any rate, I opened up the store at 1820 Washington Street.
Yes.
This was after I had the show. I had the show first on WILD, and then I went and got the store and I stocked it, and we built a little petition. And because I was picking the records for not only my show, but for all the other DJs that were on WILD.
Right.
Before I got there, the rest of the DJs were playing Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. That's the type of music they were playing.
Oh, no.
So,
Oh, no.
so Nelson said to me, well, why don't you pick some more of these R&B records that you're playing on your show for the rest of the DJs? So I did. Of course, they hated me for it. They didn't.
Skippy, we're going to continue this conversation. Don't get lost, but we are going to take a short break.
Certainly.
And we are to come back because this is really interesting.
All right. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Hey, gang, get around. Skippy White is back in town. Some like it hot, some like it cold. Skippy White is in a Skippy song. Hey, now. Then put it up here now. Let it keep on pushing now. Keep on singing now. If you take your hand off the dial, Skippy White is gonna jive a while. Swim fly into the sky. Skippy White is gonna put on the head now. This is what I say now. I said it keep on pushing now. So just to make the scene, Skippy White is on the beat. Sit back and just relax. Skippy White is gonna rock them back. Come on now. Come on and sing that song now. Hey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Elaine Hall-Corbin here, your host for Artists of Color, and we are back with my guests, Milton Wright, Mr. Great Skippy White, and Miss Toni Lynn Washington. We were having this great conversation with Skippy, and we want to continue this conversation.
Okay.
Because you were talking about the store and how you got it, and your life going around and having all these records, and going back to what's his name, Mr. The gentleman that you were talking about that you worked with for a minute. You were giving that history.
You mean Smiling Jack? Yeah, Smiling Jack refused to sponsor the show.
Right.
So what happened is I had to sponsor myself.
Wow.
And now I had all the sponsors lined up, including
so you
my
had-
own store. Initially, it was called Mass Records, the home of the blues.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first name of the store.
Oh my goodness.
Because the problem was I wasn't called Skippy White yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
see.
That's what I was going to ask
No,
you.
you
How
weren't.
did you get the name Skippy?
All right, I went on the air
Nope.
as Fred White.
Fred White. Yeah.
Yep. And I was on the air for a while as Fred White. And then the owner of the station, Nelson Noble, started hiring people from out of state to fill in to all these disc jockeys who were now leaving. They were either being let go or they were leaving because they didn't want to play what I was picking out.
Oh, well, hey,
wow.
too
They
bad.
like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin.
Yeah.
So he hired some DJs from out of the territory. And one of the DJs that he had coming in,
Was
he
Fred.
told me his name. His name was Fred Mack.
Fred Mack.
And he was a disc jockey from New York City, the Big Apple. So this is the big time. So while my friends said to me, wow, what are you going to do? Fred Mack and Fred White?
Yeah.
No, that's not
It's
going to
going to
work.
get confusing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to be lost in the shuffle. This big time DJ
this-
from
From
New
New
York
York.
City is going to come in. So they said, you need a nickname.
Yep.
So somebody suggested Skippy. I didn't
love
like it at first.
No, you didn't.
So I said, well, let me think about it. Let me sleep on it. So that night, I tossed and turned all night long. I didn't sleep too well. And I couldn't come up with anything else. Next morning, I go to the station. I'm ready to go on the air. It's time for me to put on the microphone
Yep. Flip
to
the
talk to my audience. I don't know exactly what to do, but I address myself as Fred Skippy White.
Wow.
So the phone started ringing, and people, call in requests, as they normally would.
yes.
And everybody who called
That's what's
called me
Liked
Skippy.
it. Called you
Yes.
Skippy. Called you
Nobody
Skippy.
said Fred. They
It
all
took-
said Skippy.
It took
Play
off
this record
right
for me.
away.
Yeah, that's right.
So from
They
then
call it
on,
on, yeah.
I was Skippy White.
Yes, you were.
That was it.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got the name.
That's how you got that name.
And, there's a clincher to the story.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Well, Fred Mack came in on Monday to start his show.
Okay.
On Wednesday, he got fired.
Oh,
I changed my name for someone that lasted 3 days.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah,
He lasted 3 days.
3 days, that's it.
Cause you did
Yeah.
it.
Wednesday, he got fired.
Cause you did it.
Yeah,
But
Wow. So
but from then on, I was still Skippy White.
yes, you were.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever
You know,
knew.
the other thing I noticed, though, when I opened a record store and started calling different record distributors, particularly in other parts of the country, and I told them my name, it's a name they don't know. They don't know who I am. So I didn't really get a great reaction from people when I first called. They naturally, if I was going to order some records and pay for them, that was fine. But when I changed my name on the radio and became Skippy White, and now when I call a distributor, let's say in Baltimore, Maryland,
Right.
and I said, hi, this is Skippy White
They
from
say,
Boston calling, and I want to order blah, 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 the reaction was different.
Really?
the name.
Now everybody
Yeah.
wanted to do business with me.
Yes.
Yep. Because you are now Skippy
What's in the
White
name?
from Boston.
Yeah, it was
That's
in the
right.
name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's great.
That is
Great story.
fantastic. Yes. So now I know. But I never knew that. Now, out of doing my research, out of all the stores that you've had, I never knew you had stores in Jamaica Plain.
In where?
In Jamaica Plain, you had a
Yes,
store
we were
there.
in Jamaica Plain for a little while,
Yeah.
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 315 Center Street.
See,
In the JP Plaza.
He remembers every single address.
Oh, absolutely.
That is
Did
fantastic.
you know that I also had a store in New Orleans at one time?
No.
I did. Right in the French Quarter. As a matter of fact, just coincidentally, I was on Conti Street. The name of the label that you recorded for
Oh,
in
my
New Orleans.
goodness.
That's right
I was
down
on
the street.
Conti Street,
What?
almost at the corner of Decatur.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Nice. to-
Unfortunately, the
connections.
store didn't last a long time,
Okay.
about 3-4 years. And what happened was, with the manager that I had there, of course, I know I've got a store 2,000 miles away from me.
Yes.
And so it's kind of hard to
keep
you know what I
track
mean,
of-
know what's
Right.
going on.
That's right.
But he was okay for a while, but the store wasn't doing a lot of business, and his pay was predicated on how much business we
Disney
did.
did. Yes,
So
right.
if you're not doing a lot of business, he's not making a lot of money.
That's true.
And what happened was he got a chance to work for a film company that was doing a movie called Ray.
Yeah.
Oh
Ray
my
Charles.
goodness!
It was
yes.
filmed right there in New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Yeah.
Okay.
and he got a chance
Sammy
to
Fox.
work with them.
Yeah.
So he was opening the store later,
Oh, and later
and naturally the sales were
went
suffering.
down. Yes.
So I finally decided to close it up. And do you know what happened the following year after we closed it?
yes.
Katrina.
Katrina.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my.
Wow.
If I hadn't closed it, we
You'd
would have
have
been hit
been
with
there.
Katrina.
Yeah, you'd have been right in the midst.
Yeah.
Isn't that so-
There were a couple of things
Yes.
I wanted to mention
Yes,
that
there are.
we're working on it because
Yep.
you know that I'm the co-director for Black Nativity
Yeah.
every year. The Christmas.
I didn't know
musical.
that part.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that part.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were the co-director.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So I direct the chorus, and we're our Black Nativity here is sort of unusual. They have Black Nativities all over the country,
I
but
learned
we're
that.
very much connected to the writer Langston
Right,
Hughes.
Hughes, that's
because
right.
John Ross, who was the first music director,
Yes.
his father was a very good friend of Langston Hughes. Went to college with him.
I didn't know.
And John referred to Langston as Uncle Langston. He knew him that well as Uncle
Oh
Langston.
my goodness.
And when
I had never known
when
that.
the Black Nativity opened in Broadway, Langston he wasn't really satisfied with the
Right,
music.
music.
And John rearranged things, put some more musical numbers in, and with the Elmer Lewis School and the people that they worked
yes.
with them on the musical, Boston became a very distinct Black Nativity.
That's right.
The Dancing Mary
That's
and the
right.
birth of
Of
the
the
real
birth
baby
of
on the
baby on the
stage
sta-
is
Like, whoa.
phenomenal. And the children that we have. And speaking of the children, Marilyn Andre is the choral director for the children.
Right.
And we have a program called the Butterfly Project,
Okay.
which teaches children to sing.
I think it's beautiful.
And we're starting this year, we start the Butterfly Project again on August 8th. We'll be doing every Tuesday and Wednesday from 2 to 4:30.
Okay.
And it will be at Mother Catherine's, 517 Blue Hill Avenue, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 2 to 4:30. So if you have children who want to learn to sing, and
yes, do bring them.
And yeah, do bring them. We teach them, and then if they want to be in Black Nativity,
Sure.
we get them ready for that, the
that's beautiful.
production. And we're downtown at the Paramount Theater.
Yes.
So it's a huge production, and of course, that we've had children who've been in Black Nativity through their infancy
time
until they are
Grown
adults.
adult
Yes.
and
Yeah,
beyond.
yeah. And I've been in Black Nativity now. This will be my 40th year.
It's your 40th year?
Yeah, and I've been
goodness, I had no idea.
I've been the choral director, the adult choral director for 17 years now.
Okay.
So yeah.
I saw that
Oh,
program.
that's right.
It was very enjoyable.
Wasn't
very
it?
enjoyable. Yes.
And then of
I
course
loved it.
you spoke about, I have my own musical, Joby,
Joby.
the musical based upon the biblical
The
story of Job.
I love that.
And,
oh my gosh, it was beautiful.
And we're trying to put that together, a new production, by the spring of '24.
oh, okay.
But yeah, we've got to bring that back. People
Please
are
do.
asking
People
for
loved it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know I did.
Yeah.
And I every now and then, when I go back and think about it, I say, I wonder if he's ever going to bring that back.
Oh yeah.
Because that was so.
Well, we did 2 productions, one in 2014 and one
Yep.
in 2016,
See?
and they both were packed.
Sold out,
Tickets
packed.
sold out every performance.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, a lot of times we don't get a lot of our own people to go out to theater. They came
true.
out. They came out in droves.
That's great.
It was amazing.
You couldn't even find a seat.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Couldn't even find a seat. But it was an amazing production. I
And
loved
you
it.
know, and I always, and I, you know, we talk about jazz. I love jazz. I've done jazz.
Good, I'm glad
I've
you
done
do.
gospel. I've done everything, like opera, everything, because I was classically trained.
See?
And but I think rhythm and blues is overlooked when they talk about classic American music.
Music.
They don't mention rhythm and blues. They talk about jazz
No,
and
they
gospel.
don't. No.
They don't mention rhythm. Rhythm and blues.
That's where
That has had
To
more
me,
of an
rhythm
impact.
and blues is the music
Yeah,
that
of
everything
Black
else.
America.
that's right.
That's where
right.
everything else came
everything.
out of.
Yeah. And so I said, well, you know, I want to put together a rhythm and blues musical.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's what I did
Fabulous.
with Joey.
with Joe.
Yeah.
And the Globe covered it. They said Judge Wright
See?
put some funk into the biblical story
and
of
he
Job.
did. I'm here to tell you.
And it's got comedy, it's got pathos,
Yes.
it's got everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Wow.
I can't wait for that to come
yeah,
back.
but we're gonna bring it back.
Please bring it back.
Yeah,
is-
but I'm really invested in the children.
I know
You know, and teaching children to sing properly. My mother taught us. We had a family group. When you were 5 years old, you were in the family group.
Oh,
the
wow.
right spiritual singers. And then later on, she changed the name to the Echoes of Joy. We recorded as
Really?
children, and we used to introduce all of the major gospel groups that came to Miami. They came to the Longshoremen's Hall, and we were the group that sang first, and then we the Staple Singers, Sam Cooke and
So
the
all
Soul
the-
Stirrers, the
Swan
Highway
Silvertones.
Q's, yeah, Swan Silvertones, Shirley Caesar and the
Caesar.
Caravans.
Five
and she was the,
Blind Boys of
the Five
Alabama.
Lamb, Blind
Oh,
Boy, yes,
wow.
yes,
Wow. See, they're
all of
talking
them,
about all the-
all of them,
yes.
and then they come to our house, and they show us something on the guitar.
Yeah.
'Cause everybody, all of us played guitar. Even Betty
Really?
played guitar. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So,
Fan.
so I grew up with that, and you know, we lived in the housing project here, but there were all these famous people coming to our house all
you
the
had
time.
famous people coming.
And even when they started the first big television show in Miami, it was in Miami Beach, Surfside 6 it was called, Van Williams and Troy Donahue. Well,
I remember that
they
show.
both came to our house.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
My brothers
came
were
to
the
you.
first black band, they had the Afrobeats, that played the bigger rooms of the best hotels
Hotels.
on Miami Beach.
Shoot.
The Eden Rock, the Fontainebleau, all those hotels.
yes.
They opened them up. And they played for all the acts that came in.
Yeah.
So white and black acts, you know. That's how we grew up. And knowing all of these stars. So
Oh,
and
yes, so
Betty's
you
the
were-
youngest in the family.
Okay.
So when record companies actually came to our house looking for us, I was in college. My brothers were already out touring. Everybody was already
Only gone this way and that
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And there was Betty,
Wow.
you know, and she was she joined our group when she was 4. She insisted, and when we recorded,
She said,
she
"Hey."
had we had a stool for her so she could sing, and we all sang harmony.
Oh, great.
We sang harmony from that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of doo-wop in there,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
But I'll
And
tell
then
you-
when we decided to go into secular music, we had to discuss it with my mother, who was Rosa,
Yeah.
Miss Church Lady.
That's go. You know you better.
But
Gospel
she
quartets
she allowed us to do that.
Became
Yeah.
the doo-wop
That's
singers.
right.
Good.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It all came out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll tell you one thing. I had no idea until I was talking to Isaac.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea that Betty Wright was your sister. I never knew that.
Absolutely.
Out of all the years that I've known her, I never knew that you
And
two
my
were
other
really-
sister, Jeanette Wright, with Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Oh,
What?
wow.
Yeah.
That's her.
Oh.
And my brother Philip with Junior Walker and the All Stars. And also
Oh,
with King
excuse
Curtis,
me.
when King Curtis was the music director for Aretha Franklin. And my brother Charles, I said he played around Boston, but then
Yeah.
he played with Betty. And he's been with a number of groups too. He's been yeah. They've all been all over
Very
the world
musical.
playing.
This is a whole,
Yeah.
you know,
And my
a
son,
lot of musical here.
my son, Vaya, with Kimani Marley, one of the Marley brothers.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
so, yeah,
okay. A lot of history.
yeah.
You learn
A
a lot.
lot of
today.
musical, yes. Then I'm going to ask you, when did you come to Boston? I know you told me earlier, but when did you migrate to Boston? I always say migrate. When did you migrate to Boston as a child?
1968. 1968.
Oh, in
I came here
68.
for law school. I came here. I had left Michigan. Actually, my first year was Michigan Law School, and I was completely dissatisfied.
Okay.
I was in a class of 6 blacks.
Oh,
We
shit.
were all freshmen, and we were the first that had been at the law school in 50 years. They were
What?
totally unprepared for us.
I know they were.
It was ridiculous, the things that happened.
Oh, wow.
And I just couldn't take it, so I
couldn't.
left. And I came to Boston because I had come to Boston once before when I was at Harvard in summer school, studying Arabic in an
Studying
intensive
Arabic.
course, and then I came over the bridge, and I was downtown passing Strawberry Records, and I heard.
Oh, I remember Strawberry
I heard,
Records.
baby, baby, where did our love go? And
Oh,
I
yes.
said, oh. And I just felt something about, I
That-
said, wow, it was something, Boston had a certain feeling to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
And
did.
so when I left Michigan, I had to figure out what was I going to do? Because I had never dropped out of school before. I dropped out of school.
Oh, wow.
I came to Boston, my brother Charles was here. But I came mainly because I felt a certain spirit here.
Yes.
And then I worked for legal services, and Bob Spangenberg, who was like one of the founders of legal services in the country, he told me, he said, Milton, you got to go back and finish law school. Says you're doing everything the lawyers do here,
Yeah.
and you're doing it better than me.
Better than they are.
So I went back to law school. I went to BU, and the rest is history.
Yes, it is.
I
remember when you became a judge.
Yeah, I remember my senior year. I was out of money and they didn't have any scholarship money for me, anything. And I was in a theater company, a New African company with Jim
The New
Spruill.
African
yeah,
company?
Yeah, I was acting then too. I've always acted. Matter of fact,
Okay.
when I was 12 years old, I played Emmett Till in Blood in Mississippi.
Oh,
right, kid?
wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
know that, Mr. Benny.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
hard piece to do.
And Emmett Till, by the way, is related to me. The Till,
What did you
yes.
just say?
Yeah, he's related to me on my father's side. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So anyway,
oh my goodness.
I was saying, you know, I
The New African.
yeah, I was in a New African company,
Whoa.
and a young lady that I was dating at the time, she said, "Oh, Milton, you know, Head Start is looking for a music coordinator for the New England region, and they're paying $60 an hour." I said, "What?"
I'll take it.
But I said, I don't know how to do that. She said, "You can do it, Milton."
See?
And I remember laying down on my living room floor and writing these songs for kids and making a whole program. And I walk in with my guitar playing, and I say, and they say, "Good morning, Mr. Music Man." I say, "Good morning, Mr." I said, "All right, we're going to form a train." They form a train, and I had this song On My Way Back to Georgia. And I go from Boston all the way down to Georgia, and we stop in every state and talk about what was in that state.
Yeah.
The state bird, the state, you know, different things, and what was the industry and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was teaching them this way. And so they thought it was really extraordinary, and I didn't know what I
He was
made
just
this up.
did it.
I was just doing, this is what you do with kids, I thought.
Right.
I mean, this is how I taught my brothers and sisters when they were growing up. I taught them all to read and write.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, but Boston has been
It's a
great
hub.
for me.
I know
it's
it
been
has.
it's been wonderful. People talk about Boston and all this stuff. I worked with Boston. I worked with the Red Sox. Right now, there's an exhibit downtown, the Negro.
Yeah, you were
League.
telling me the Negro Baseball League.
Baseball League, yeah.
I'm going down there. I
Down
didn't
at
even know it
118
was
Boylston Street. Yeah.
I didn't even know it was
Yeah,
here.
it's a wonderful exhibit. And tomorrow, the chief executive officer,
yes.
of the museum, the
He's
Negro,
going to come.
is coming, and he's going to speak 5 o'clock there,
That's what you
118
told me.
Boylston
Okay.
Street. Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to see this.
But getting back to Skippy,
Yes.
we're doing this thing for you.
Oh, yeah, let's
tribute.
talk about this thing for him.
This
Yeah, we
tribute.
have a big event coming
We
up.
have this event coming up for Mr. Skippy White.
Yes.
Yep.
August 5th.
And both of these on both sides of me
You are going to be
be
there
entertaining. They're going to
doing
be singing.
tribute to you.
And a number of other artists, including
Absolutely.
Toussaint.
Yeah, right.
We can't
Toussaint
wait.
will be there.
Yeah.
The Harmonizing Stars
Yeah.
will be on hand. Who else? The Spiritual Encouragers,
Yeah.
never
one of
heard
the
of them.
best gospel groups
Yeah.
in the Boston area.
Yeah.
They're
Really?
really
Yeah.
good.
And it's at Florian Hall.
Yeah, it's at Florian Hall, 55 Hallett Street in
Okay.
Dorchester. It's going to be Saturday, August 5th. It starts at 5, doors open at 5. And there'll be quite a bit of entertainment, and food will be available.
Okay.
It's going to be a great time, and I just want to thank everybody. I'm going to shake everybody's hand.
I know
I'm
you
telling you.
are.
That night, I'm not going to miss a hand.
Not going to miss, okay?
No. So I
We're gonna
want to
be-
thank everybody for supporting me
Oh.
and, just being there for me on my night.
Yeah.
You were there for us.
Yeah.
So, it's our time
Only
to be
for
there.
63 years.
Only 63. So now we have to be there for you.
Yes. And I appreciate it.
Oh,
do.
Skippy White.
I feel the love of the people that have not only listened to me on the radio, but have come into my record store
Yes.
over the years. And I've watched them grow up. I watched them come in when they were little kids and grow
Yep.
up.
That's right.
I mean, you're talking 63 years.
Yes, yes.
So somebody that was
Yeah.
8, 10 years old when I first opened is now in their 50s. So I've watched people grow up right in front of me.
There you go.
Yeah.
I grew up right in front of you, too. See?
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of my guests, Miss Toni Lynn Washington,
Yeah.
Mr. Judge Milton Wright,
Yeah.
and the great Skippy White.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure having all three of you here today on my set with me for Artists of Color. This is what I do. This is my passion.
Yeah.
When I first started this program 17 years ago,
Wow.
Wow.
I said I would never do anything but art and culture for the Black community, because that's who I am. And I wanted this to be a special occasion, and to me today was a special occasion. And I thank you
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for
with
having
me
us.
today. I can't tell you what's going to happen next month, but today has been an amazing day. So I want to thank my audience who were out there with me watching today, and please tell everybody about August 5th so we can have a full-fledged, I want to say, packed Florian Hall for Skippy White. Thank you, everyone, for being there. And again, I thank my guest. I'm Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host for Artists of Color. It's been a great afternoon for me and for my guest.